In the sweltering heat of Capua's gladiatorial school, the air was thick with the iron tang of blood and sweat. Spartacus, now a mere cog in the mighty machine of Roman entertainment, was pushed to the limits of human endurance. The ludus was a world apart, where every sunrise could herald your last day, and every sunset was a victory hard won. The clang of steel rang out as Spartacus trained, his muscles aching with the exertions of combat. Here, in the trial of the arena, he was reforged from a man into a legend. The once free Thracian learned the ways of the Roman gladiators, mastering the sword, the trident, and the net. Each weapon was an extension of his will, each strike a whisper of his growing resolve. Under the watchful eye of Doctore, the Lanista's ruthless trainer Spartacus honed his skill. But it was not just the technique of battle that he learned. He also learned the craft of survival. The politics of the ludus were as deadly as any arena, and Spartacus navigated them with the cunning of a fox. He watched, he waited, and he planned. The bonds formed in the bowels of the ludus were forged in the fire of shared suffering. Spartacus found brothers in Crixus, the fierce Gaul, Ennomaus, the seasoned Punic veteran, and Gannicus, the Celt, whose laughter was as loud as his battle cry. They were a band of brothers, each from a different corner of the world, each carrying the same weight of chains. Spartacus's reputation grew with each passing day, and so did his influence among the other gladiators. He was a natural leader, his charisma and strength drawing others to his side. At night, when the ludus slept, Spartacus and his companions whispered of rebellion, of a world where they could live as free men once again. But for every whispered word of freedom, there was the crack of the doctor's whip, a stinging reminder of their reality. The arena claimed lives as easily as the gods carelessly tossed fates. Spartacus saw friends fall, their blood seeping into the sand, their eyes forever closed to the world they dreamed of. Each loss ignited a fiercer flame within him, a burning desire for vengeance and liberation. The day finally came when Spartacus's mettle would be tested before the bloodthirsty crowds of Capua. His debut in the arena was a spectacle eagerly anticipated by the masses, a new champion on which to set their sights. And Spartacus did not disappoint. He fought with the grace of a panther, the power of a thunderbolt, his blade singing a deadly song. His victories piled as high as the coins that changed hands in the stands above. But the admiration of the crowd was a hollow sound to Spartacus. Their cheers were the echoes of his lost freedom, their excitement a celebration of his continued enslavement. Yet, within the sounds of the arena, Spartacus heard a different tune, the rising symphony of rebellion. Spartacus's defiance became more pronounced, his challenges to authority bolder. When set to fight his brothers for the crowd's amusement, he would drop his sword, refusing to spill the blood of those he had come to cherish. Such insolence was met with brutal punishment, but Spartacus endured. He would not be broken. The whisper of freedom, which was once uttered so casually and without concern, would not be forgotten. As Spartacus's fame grew, so did his legend. The man who would not bow to Rome's will became a beacon of hope for those who had none. In the dark corners of the empire, his name was whispered like a prayer, a call to those who still harbored dreams of a life unchained. The stage was set, the players ready. The fires of rebellion, stoked in the shadows, were ready to burst forth in a blaze of glory. Spartacus, the once free son of Thrace, the gladiator who defied an empire, was ready to lead. The spark was about to meet the tinder, and the flames of revolt were poised to consume the old world and birth a new one. And so, beneath a sky filled with stars that had watched empires rise and fall, Spartacus and his fellow gladiators made a pact. They swore an oath, not to gods or men, but to each other. They would stand together, fight together, and if necessary, die together. For they were gladiators, and they would be free or join their fallen brothers in the attempt. In the dead of night, when the only sound was the distant bark of a stray dog, they gathered. The air was charged with the electricity of impending storm. Their hearts beat to the drum of freedom. They whispered of strategy and sacrifice, knowing that the path they chose was fraught with peril, but it was a path paved by the indomitable human spirit. Their plan was audacious, almost unthinkable. They would turn their gladiatorial combat skills against their captors. They would use the element of surprise, their intimate knowledge of the ludus, and their sheer desperation to fuel their fight. With Spartacus at the helm, the gladiators found not just a leader but a symbol. He was the embodiment of the spirit they all carried within them, the spirit of Thrace, the spirit of freedom. And as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, they knew that their lives would never be the same. For better or for worse, they had stepped onto a path from which there was no return. The die was cast, and the rebellion had begun.